In the humid jungles of Southeast Asia, where centuries-old temples rise above the tree line and the borderlines are as old as kingdoms yet as fragile as politics, two nations have lived side by side, sometimes as partners, often as rivals. This is the story of Thailand and Cambodia's long, bitter, and still unresolved border conflict. A struggle where history, maps, politics, and pride collide, and where a single temple became the flashpoint for decades of military standoffs, armed clashes, and fragile peace. Our journey begins not with the sound of gunfire, but with the scratching of pens on colonial maps more than half a century ago. At the dawn of the 20th century, French colonial powers controlled Cambodia as part of French Indochina. Across the border, the Kingdom of Siam, modern-day Thailand, had preserved its sovereignty but lost territory through a series of treaties and diplomatic concessions. In 1904 and again in 1907, Siam and France signed border agreements. The French mapped the region, and one of those maps placed an ancient Hindu temple, the Preah Vihear Temple, north of the natural watershed line, inside Cambodian territory. To the Thais, this was a mistake, a colonial cartographic slight. To the Cambodians, it was legal proof of ownership. At the time, neither side imagined that this temple would one day sit at the center of modern artillery fire. The Second World War brought upheaval. Japan's invasion of Southeast Asia forced Thailand into a temporary alliance with Tokyo. In 1941, with Japanese support, Thailand seized several provinces from French Indochina, including areas adjacent to Preah Vihear. But after Japan's defeat, the 1946 Franco-Thai peace treaty restored these territories to French control. Cambodian independence came in 1953, but with it came the inheritance of all border disputes left unresolved by the colonial era. By the late 1950s, the Preah Vihear issue was no longer a matter of quiet diplomatic protest. It became a flashpoint. Both nations claimed sovereignty. Patrols along the rugged Dangreg mountain range, where the temple sat, grew tense. In 1958 and 1959, Thai police and Cambodian soldiers faced off multiple times. In 1959, Cambodia, led by the charismatic and often unpredictable Prince Norodom Sihanouk, took the dispute to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. The legal battle lasted years, but in June 1962 the ICJ delivered its verdict. Preah Vihear Temple was located in Cambodia, and Thailand was obligated to withdraw any forces stationed there. For Cambodia, it was a diplomatic victory. For Thailand, it was a bitter defeat that stirred public anger. But while the verdict settled the ownership of the temple itself, it did not clearly define the surrounding land, an omission that would fester for decades. The following years were shaped by the wider conflicts of Indochina. The Vietnam War destabilized the region. The Khmer Rouge seized power in Cambodia in 1975, and their brutal rule, followed by the Vietnamese invasion of Cambodia in 1978, meant that the Preah Vihear dispute lay dormant. Thailand, meanwhile, found itself sheltering waves of Cambodian refugees along its border, while skirmishes broke out between Thai troops and Vietnamese forces pursuing Khmer Rouge fighters across the rugged terrain. Throughout the 1980s, Thailand became a staging ground for anti-Vietnamese Cambodian factions, including remnants of the Khmer Rouge, the Royalist Funcinpec, and the Republican KPNLF. The border was militarized, and artillery fire was not uncommon. In these years, Preah Vihear Temple itself was inaccessible, surrounded by minefields and contested territory. The border was less aligned and more a shifting zone of control, defined by jungle paths, military outposts, and the occasional roar of distant gunfire. The Cold War's end in the early 1990s brought hope. The 1991 Paris peace agreements ended decades of civil war in Cambodia. United Nations peacekeepers arrived, elections were held, and the Cambodian government began rebuilding. In 1998, the Khmer Rouge finally collapsed, and for the first time in decades, the Thai-Cambodian border seemed poised for stability. Tourists even began visiting Preah Vihear from the Cambodian side, though the rugged approach from Thailand remained popular among locals. But beneath the surface, the border issue remained unresolved. The key problem lay in how the two nations interpreted the watershed boundary and the 1907 French map. Thailand favored natural geography. Cambodia relied on colonial cartography. The disputed area extended far beyond the temple itself, covering 4.6 square kilometers of rocky ground and jungle. In 2008, tensions exploded again. That year, Cambodia applied to UNESCO to have Preah Vihear Temple listed as a World Heritage Site. Thailand objected, arguing that the listing could prejudice the border dispute. Despite Bangkok's protests, UNESCO approved Cambodia's application in July 2008. Nationalist groups in Thailand accused the government of weakness. Protests erupted in Bangkok, and Thai military units were deployed to the border. The clashes began almost immediately. In October 2008, a firefight between Thai and Cambodian troops left several soldiers dead and dozens wounded. Both sides accused the other of firing first. Artillery and mortars were used. Some shells landed near civilian villages. The temple, an ancient site of peace and worship, once again echoed with the sounds of war. For the next 3 years, sporadic clashes flared. The most serious occurred in April 2009, February 2011, and May 2011. The 2011 fighting was especially intense, with multiple days of artillery duels, use of BM-21 Grad rockets, and civilian evacuations on both sides. Cambodian officials accused Thailand of damaging parts of the temple. Thailand accused Cambodia of using the temple as a military base. ASEAN, the regional bloc, was drawn into the crisis. For the first time in its history, ASEAN attempted to mediate an armed conflict between two of its members. Indonesia, as ASEAN chair in 2011, proposed deploying observers to the border. Ceasefires were declared and broken. The UN Security Council held discussions but stopped short of direct intervention, instead urging bilateral talks under ASEAN's facilitation. By late 2011, fighting subsided, but the underlying dispute remained. Both sides fortified positions. Soldiers remained entrenched, rifles slung over shoulders, their eyes fixed across a narrow no-man's land. The ICJ, in response to a Cambodian request, reopened the case to clarify the 1962 ruling scope, particularly the ownership of the 4.6 square kilometer area around the temple. In 2013, the court reaffirmed Cambodia's sovereignty over the entire promontory of Preah Vihear, ordering Thai forces to withdraw. The ruling reduced tensions, but resentment lingered in parts of Thailand, and mistrust persisted across the border. Today, the Thai-Cambodian border is relatively calm. Tourists again visit Preah Vihear, and trade flows across checkpoints. But the political winds in both nations can shift quickly. Nationalism remains a powerful force, and the memories of 2008 to 2011 are still fresh among soldiers who served there. The lines on the map are settled on paper, but in the hearts of some, the battle is not yet over. In the mountains where the stone steps of Preah Vihear rise toward the sky, silence has returned, for now. But history in this corner of Southeast Asia has a way of awakening old disputes. And in the fragile peace along this border, the next chapter may only be one political decision away.